thing, which we all have, some part of our life, some part of our nature, some part of our aspect that's a bit dysfunctional, causing us discord, causing us disharmony, it's actually a bit more useful to get in touch with that, see what it is, understand it, perhaps not do it, perhaps change it, eliminate it, minimize it, adapt it, something, instead of just layering it over with nothing, with just our imagination and feel good, empty kind of quotes, and just trying to medicate ourselves through bliss and hedonism. And we can definitely give that a shot, but I don't think it's really, going to work. And it's kind of childish to just bury our head in the sand and hope that problems will just disappear by themselves and go away. And it's also, to me, in my mind, it's actually really positive to shed light on this thing and do that in a way which is non-personal, not emotionally charged, super clear, super concise, and basically just laid out so that if a person decides or feels it is correct for them, they can step into that if they so choose. So in many ways, that's actually more positive and nice and kind than telling someone what they should or shouldn't do, what they ought and what they ought to do, because honestly, we keep things around that we need because we need them and we like them. And when we don't need them, we don't like them, we tend to not keep them around, and that's our own, each one of us, inherent individual rights. So that's kind of positive. But now to be a bit more overt, how about this? You're alive. Whoa. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that like a thing? Wow. And so often we can really not even realize that. Just the basic, simple enjoyment quality of just being alive, of just whatever the feedback, whatever our nervous system, whatever our perception actually is at that moment. Like, whoa, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? What a funny thing that I could be in this situation. And sometimes when we're in the depths of a drama or some sort of thing that's unfolding in our life, you can just remember and be like, oh yeah, this is kind of just like a drama, and like how interesting that I'm alive and I can fucking like do this weird thing, whatever that's happening. Interesting. And then the other side of it is that we're alive and we can subsequently do things. We have a lot more freedom, a lot more power, a lot more independence than we probably are allowing for ourselves based on many of the things that I'm such an arrogant asshole and pointing out in so many videos and podcasts and articles and classes and whatnot. So yeah, that seems a bit positive, right? I mean, we're alive and we can do things. How crazy is that? And how often do we forget it? How often do we choose to get mired down in, well, I want to do this, but I don't know if I should do it, but then I could also do this, but I don't know, I did try it once, it didn't work, I don't know if I'll do it. I read a review online, said this, but then said that, and I don't know. We get stuck in this sort of apathetic, more so pathetic, disengaged state where we're operating at the periphery of our consciousness and kind of suspended animation. Suspended animation for usually the benefit of someone or something else. So the fact is, we don't necessarily have to do that. Now, we all are human beings. We have feelings, we have thoughts, we have complexities and neuroses and eccentricities. So, it really doesn't, it's just a matter of time. It kind of doesn't matter. And I think a lot of times what shows up as positive thinking or motivational, inspirational kind of things, and just to be clear, go on YouTube, go on Instagram, go on Elephant Journal, go on the mediums which people are largely consuming this kind of information, and just look and see if what I'm saying is true. See if what I'm getting at is perhaps somewhat evidence. And what I'm saying is that oftentimes this is really violent because it's basically presupposing that this person has seen the way, they know the one true light, and you must do it. And if you just do it, then you'll be saved. But it's like, wait, you don't know me, you don't know my life, you don't know, maybe I really need this thing around me for a certain period of time because it's, upholding and balancing the fragile state of my psyche. And if I remove it, then perhaps the whole thing will fall down. Maybe that's true, maybe that isn't. Maybe we do need to take that away. Maybe we need to keep that there. A lot of variables. I could keep going for at least 3 hours of different variables and situations that are going to be different from person to person and situation to situation. Thus, Not only that, but let's say someone tells you all this lofty things, but usually what it's going to do is just allow the person another way to project their existing bias, their existing agenda, and really not change, really not grow, really not shift, really not grow anything or transform anything, but just kind of stay in the same place under a slightly different, more self-congratulating kind of umbrella. Interesting. But isn't that how funny that we can all do this? We can all basically play this kind of game. We can all basically be fuck-ups all the time and fumble our way through life and learn things and do things and have experiences and have fun. Because there's a weird thing where it seems like everyone is just in a rush to be perfect. Everyone is in a rush to basically try to be something other than what they actually are. And what I mean is, all children typically look up to big people, right? When you're a kid, you probably looked up to your parents, your older siblings, teachers, presidents, whatever. And actually, the reality of the situation is many adults, use that in quotes, still function in that childlike state where they're looking up to celebrities, looking up to the people above them on the ladder of life, socially, economically, politically, looking up to the president, looking up to the religious figures, looking up to the gods, and it's still just like, wow, look at the tall people. I just want to play in my sandbox. But wow, look at the tall people. I want to be a tall person one day. That's kind of our major script. Yet we're showing up pretending as if we're adults, but really we just want to play dress up. We really just want to play in the sandbox. We really just, want to achieve bliss states. Which there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do that. It's just perhaps be a little bit more clear and in touch with what you're actually doing and why you're actually doing it. Because then you can probably do it a bit more effectively. If your goal is just to feel good, and you know that that's all your goal is, then you can probably do it much more safely, efficiently, and effectively if you actually get in touch with what that actually is instead of operating under archaic religious and spiritual constructs, which are only keeping you from the thing you actually want, which is odd. Interesting. But anyways, getting back to the point, we're all in this rush because, God and gods and gods and goddesses and all these deities, they're at the top of the pyramid. But we want to get there, because they're the big adults. They're the big tall ones. And the child part of us says, wow, I want to be that. And then we just want to layer all this nonsense onto us, which tends to just complicate and make our life worse, short, medium, and long term. However, what we fail to realize is that these gods and goddesses and things in which we idealize and look up to are oftentimes quite impotent and quite limited by their own omnipotence. Because here we are, we get to surprise ourselves, we get to be surprised by life, we get to learn things, we get to fuck up, we get to do largely whatever we can imagine, we can dream up is what we can actually do. Much to our own detriment a lot of the times because we use that imaginative quality, we use that inherent creative force within us against ourselves and against other people and for the benefit of corporations and religious and power political institutions. But we don't realize it, and we reward ourselves for doing it because we think that's actually good, because that's how we've been conditioned to believe. Again, which goes back to this whole other matrix of things, which is not what I'm trying to talk about in the video, because I'm trying to be more positive and uplifting. So yeah, how amazing is that we get to be kind of the fucked up gods instead of the impotent, omnipotent, omniscient God who can't ever fuck up or surprise themselves or learn or grow or do anything. But here we are in this dimension of whatever this is, doing whatever it is that we're actually doing, which is usually something that we don't know and we don't understand the vast majority of the time, which is quite interesting and quite funny if you choose to see it in that way. Which gets us to the fact that there is basically an inherent thread, an inherent spiritual quality to life. Notice my language, inherent spiritual quality. Notice I didn't really fluctuate my tone. I didn't emphasize one over the other. I just said inherent spiritual quality, as if it's like one thing, as if it's like an actual inherent thing to life, thus something you don't really need to make a big deal about. But yet many people find it to be useful to make a big deal about it. Personally, I find it to be quite inefficient. It's just like if I walk in a room and be like, man, fucking air. Whoa. Oof. There's like light. Do you see this light, man? Do you see this light and this air in here? Oh my god. Wait, is this light coming from the sun? Whoa, what the fuck? The sun? Are you serious? The sun. Oh my god, wait. Well, this is like water. Holy shit. It's like water, man. Have you ever had water? Do you know what it's like? Do you know about water, though? Can you see how it can just be a level of redundancy that's really not useful? And actually having things just informed in our belief system is sort of how our organism helps to make us function more efficiently, more effectively in the world. Meaning if we're trying to learn to play piano or learn to play a musical instrument, we start to learn basic foundational skills, and then we eventually move on to more and more refined skills, but we don't have to remember and think about the base level skills while we're doing the higher ones because it's just in there. Now again, that can work for us and work against us. So the fact is that there are these things as to the inherent spiritual quality, and the fact that it seems so amazing and seems so otherworldly is because we probably actually believe that we're not that thing. We actually have been conditioned into the conventionality and the standardization of whatever this amalgamation and bastard of a paradigm is that we live in modern times, which tells us that we're basically just more or less meat suits with somehow a soul or some energy spirit thing attached. When in actuality, perhaps the distinction between spiritual and physical was never actually a distinction to begin with. It's just that things can appear in many different ways. Water, for example, is in the air right now. I'm breathing in water right now, but I don't really see it. I just drank it though. I can see that. I can see that form of it. I can understand that form of it. There's also ice. There's steam. There's a lot of forms of water, many of which I can't really see and I can't really understand in this present moment, but it's actually there, but it's actually existing all the time and always has, and hopefully, probably, always will, because you know what? That's built in and that's inherent to life. Makes sense. Last thing is that there is this inherent self-correcting, self-healing, self-regulating quality to life. I don't know if you've noticed that, which I mean you have, but you probably haven't, because again we've been brought up in a paradigm which tells us that somehow we're separate from nature, but somehow we're connected to nature. Somehow it's all separate, but somehow it's all one. But somehow if we just do these things, then we can somehow become one again, or somehow feel our connection again. It's like I'm gonna go to a qigong class because I want to feel my chi. It's like, well, wait a minute, how did I get to that qigong class? What about all of the moments before that? Was I not feeling my chi before then? Because what is my actual life experience? Is the experience of chi or energy somehow separate or above or somehow mystically somewhere else? Which the problem is that most of the time people that are interested in spirituality, in anything esoteric, their foundational belief system is basically monotheistic Christianity with a little bit of scientism and a little bit of self-hatred from modern psychological thinking. And then they still teach these Eastern and esoteric arts from this place, so it just seems more weird and more far away and never really actually real and tangible and relatable, thus not really getting in touch with what our situation actually is, which is an inherent spiritual quality and an inherent self-regulating, self-correcting, spontaneous, self-regulating thing. And if you cut yourself, you tend to heal. If my beard hair falls out, it tends to come back. If I drink all this water, I'm probably going to pee. If I go outside and it's hot, I'm probably going to sweat. I could keep going with more and more redundancies about how we are this dynamic, responsive being, and that disease and things tend to arise when we lose our responses, our spontaneous responsive quality, our adaptive quality. When we lose that aspect of our existence through stagnation, through fear, through fixation, through contraction, then that tends to allow the quality that we or the label as disease as being disease. When in actuality, it's not really disease. It's just basically a quality of life trying to usually point something out, or a quality that's reflective of other qualities of which we might be able to study, we might be able to understand, and thus allow certain conditions which could change that quality, or allow that quality to unfold and shift over time. And that's basically cool. That's great. I mean, how amazing is that? That disease and sickness contains within it healing, because that's kind of what our body is and what our body does. It's just natural. It's not magical. You don't need to pay someone $10,000 to get initiated or $100,000 to get this level 1 certification, because that's just what our body is. And the thing is all these beliefs that I'm talking about, all these positive things, hopefully, that I'm pointing out, actually give potency to things that we actually do. Because it's a shocking thing that when we tend to say, wow, life is interesting, wow, I'm alive. I forgot I was alive because I was so upset by some trivial, mundane bullshit that I've been throwing around in my head for long, and I forgot that I was alive and dynamic and free and responsive to do things because I've just been spending my life trying to coerce people into my agenda or put my agenda on them or manipulate them to get approval or validation or some emotional response, that I forgot that, hey, I'm actually alive. I actually am this vibrating, vibrant, dynamic being within us, surrounded by everything else that's vibrating and dynamic, maybe in just in slightly different ways, but wow, isn't that fucking interesting? What about that? And from that place of, wow, that's really interesting, that's kind of cool. And what do you tend to do with things that are interesting? Well, for me personally, if I watch like a movie or a TV show that I find interesting, I tend to just watch it and see what it's about and kind of reflect upon it and study it. And I think if people were half as engaged with their own life as they are with TV and music and media and gossip and this milieu of, peanuts and fucking circus, things might be a bit different. But my word of advice is to never actually suggest that and never actually approach people and or situations from that place, because you will be demonized, villainized, and you will be cut down. Just like if you're in a romantic relationship and you tell the person, hey, you know what? It seems like you're only interested in this relationship for financial benefit, to give you security based on a lot of fear that your mom gave you because that's what she did and that's how she believes the world is, because she grew up in a certain kind of situation. Her parents gave her these kinds of patterning within this historic period in time. Don't ever say that, because relationships are based on love and honesty and being intimate. So you would never actually want to be intimate and loving and honest about what's actually happening and how that's actually preventing the relationship and the situation itself from actually achieving those ends of love and intimacy and honesty and connection. Don't ever do that, because you're a fucking piece of shit if you do that. Just a word of advice, because I'm being positive, and I want you to be positive and live your most successful and abundant life possible. So isn't that fascinating? And yet here we are in this plane. We get to play in our sandbox. We get to build all kinds of weird castles, and they get destroyed, and we get to build other ones. We get to learn things. We get to learn about ourselves. We get to learn about other people. We get to fuck up all the time, and yet life has this somehow self-regulating, self-correcting quality. Now this regulation might not be in the time scan that we think. Sometimes it takes many generations, many lifetimes, thousands of years for things to correct. So don't be a dumbass and say, oh, well, I can do whatever I want. Well, yeah, but, don't be a dumbass, because there's consequences. And it's not just you on the planet. There's other people. Because what you actually believe you are is actually not really the truth. So anyways, that's another conversation. And more importantly, there's a self-healing, self-regulating quality to what we are. And that our disease or our illness actually contains within it healing. That's just built in, because that's what our body does. And if it doesn't, then we die. And basically our disease is cured because we're dead. So it's not really an incurable disease anymore, is it? Interesting. But also, yes, I get that that's morbid for me to talk about death, because it's really weird to talk about the thing which every human being pretty much has done and every human being pretty much will do at some point in time. Don't ever talk about that, because if you do, you're negative, you're dark, you're angry, you're morbid, you're an asshole. We can't talk about those things, even though it's completely universal and always has been and always will be. Don't worry about it. Don't bring it up. And that's the other funny thing, is that there's this inherent paradoxical, contradictory nature to life, where it's just like, really? Like, this can't be serious. Like, how is this a thing? This is amazing. So anyways, hopefully this has been somewhat positive and useful. I just have trouble saying empty-headed bullshit to people like, you know what, just live your dreams. It's like, yeah, your dream could be to, I don't know, be a total dick. You know what I mean? And that might be your dream. But does the world really need that? Is that really beneficial? I don't know. Is that your right to do that? Yes. Do I really want to be responsible and or involved in that? No. Would I rather present things in a way that's somewhat detached, somewhat concise, not concise at all, but just detached and clear and somewhat depersonalized and de-emotionalized so that I don't have to be involved and or responsible in your life in that manner because you're not paying me to. Thus, why would I want to do that? Because I need to have compassion for my own time and energy, my own space, and for the fact that I've put in the vast majority of my life studying, and researching, and working. And actually, translation, I'm doing that pretty much all the time. Doesn't fucking matter what I'm doing. It's still going, still working all the time. So then why would I devalue myself to energetically and emotionally invest in your life when I don't even know you, I don't even understand you, we've never met, we've never talked, you're not paying me, there's no actual energetic exchange of equal or greater value? Interesting. So that's why I perhaps might say things in certain ways, but also to actually be nicer and to be kinder, be more compassionate, because ultimately you need to live your life and do what you need to do. I need to do what I need to do, and I really have no clue what that actually is for you. So why would I sit here and pretend and put out empty-headed bullshit advice and feel-good nonsense, which is inherently contradictory, kind of like this Prince EA or Prince, is that how you say it? It's just Prince EA, it's just Prince that guy who's, people were loving his video about how social media is like disconnecting us, but it has millions of views and people are like loving it. But it's like, wait, social media is disconnecting us, but it just allowed you to connect with millions of people all over the world with your message about how social media is disconnecting us. And you all get to connect together and come together as a community of people who believe that social media is disconnecting you. Okay, I get it. I'm the dick, right? Interesting. So I'd rather not put out videos like that. But yeah. Anyways, this really got out of hand. Anyways, hope this has been helpful, entertaining. Enjoy your day, and you can achieve your dreams. You can be whatever you want to be.